The zone wasn't capped. There's no penalty, Sassy.
Aside, and it's just you. Getting that 52 to work and getting a triple.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Splat World Series 26 Rewound. Now we're taking a look in with stage still between two teams. Here we have Pacdora versus RipPig9. Some very unique teams going into this. But before we get too ahead of ourselves, my name is Rocket. Joining me is Ellie, my co-caster, here to talk about this upcoming matchup and take a deeper dive into it. Pacdora is going to be your first team out of these two. Why don't you take this one, Ellie?
I mean, the XP's gotta speak for themselves, no? That says 4378, this is 4003. Like, the cumulative XP here is absolutely ridiculous. You got Momo on the pencil, that being their one trick. Nordicio, the best Splatana stamper in the world, who will be on the bench for this set, by the way, but they'll make an appearance a little bit later. Cassila, a very respected and storied slasher player at 3519 XP themselves. Eri Momo, who's a 4K XP, 52 gallons. And by the way, this kid is like 14 years old, so they are like laughing at us. I feel old and washed up as hell seeing this kid's gameplay. And of course, rounding it out is a weapon that you don't see all that often, but with a pilot as good as Rami on the VDS, that's what they're going to be bringing out here.
Yeah, and on the other side with RipPig9, some very familiar names if you are in those tournaments, such as the Apple Productions run, your Trine Cups, your paddling pools, if you will, Zenith, Yoshel, Dat Kid, and Phoenix. Very familiar to the NA/EU competitive Western scene here, with some very familiar names on very familiar teams, so it's Easy MD as well. So a lot to be expected of this. You have your JP versus your NA team at matchup here. Of course, that's going to be the main spectacle of how well they will do against JP. But, I mean, very solid comp all around. Of course, the XP doesn't speak to all of their skills, but only one way to find out how good they are as we load into this upcoming match and have our initial strikes of maps.
I mean, it's funny to say the XPs don't speak for themselves when they all start with 3. Like, that's damn good. But the bar here at the Splat World Series is just so high that somehow 3000 X power, an achievement that you couldn't even, fathom getting in Splatoon 2, is somehow on the lower end of our skill level today. Notably, the RipPig9 did just beat QDNK 3-0, which is one of the Area Cup invitees in this first round of Swiss. So they have a very hot start so far.
Yeah, and really the power imbalance might be just because of, you see that those numbers at the top with Seed 1 Pacdora, your strongest JP team. Not just the JP team in reputation, but the best of the best projected versus your 12th of RipPig9. But stranger things have happened on this stage. Stranger strikes have happened. Looking at the strike stages, we do have some very more typical maps that you would see completely removed, but at the very least we get a very normal one, at least to us NA Western viewers. Umami Ruins as our game 1, a 2-zone map.
I think this map is particularly good, probably one of my favorites, and you've got I'm thinking about Dat Kid and that Zipcaster, and that Zipcaster will absolutely thrive here. So, I mean, I like it with my Zipcaster weapon. I'm assuming the Dat Kid does too. And that's who I've got my eye on as we load into this first game.
Yeah, Phoenix on that opening Gambit Gal as well. So going to be looking for that early aggression. Going to be tough to try to take those fights against the longer range weapons that Pacdora are running. Of course, you have those dually Squelchers. That is going to be the unique factor that Pacdora will be bringing. But so far, pretty even in things. The slight numbers advantage, actually, though, to now RipPig, as Phoenix was able to get in a very nice flank, find 2, but they are traded out themselves. So a small victory in the step of RipPig9, but still one nonetheless, as they get that first control of the zone and strong paint control.
Alright, this is going to be Rip Pig 9's first hold here, being the ones to win the opening fight, but, you know, Pacdora comes swinging right back the other way with some Tri-Strikes now and starting to move in into Phoenix, though. Phoenix like moves right past them and takes down the pencil as well, so they're just dipping and diving out of the ink here, and that's going to turn their attention away, which makes them not realize Zenith is on the very top here with the hammer, but ends up getting picked up by Rami with the Dually Squelchers, so that means that Pacdora, if they just pick the square, it's going to be able to walk right back in and apply some penalty points.
Yeah, and then Rami going to be able to utilize that range to the fullest as they try to just play the poking game, play those points to get in a couple more of that chip damage. But Pacdora doing really nicely to not over-aggress on their advantage. That kid, though, may be swinging things right back on that Octobrush, managing to find a pick. Going around now, just left to depend on Pacdora, just trying to see if they can stabilize, but that kid does have a Zipcaster available to utilize, could swing things as it is going to be utilized, going 1-for-1 on that left side, but still making things even, making it into the advantage of Rip Pig 9.
Momo just swats that kid's Zipcaster out of the air like a fly, and that lets everyone else move right in. But there Momo is starting to take a fight here and trading out with that kid once again. So no more Octobrush lurking in the water around you, and you can, you know, move forward a little bit more certainty. But, you know, something happens at the front line, and it ends up just being Airy Momo and Momo, which is confusing as hell to say. But, you know, Momo's got the jump-ins now with Kasiwa and Rami trying to back them up. So it's like this fight in mid going on, it's looking really uncertain with the whale coming out from Phoenix. Maybe sure to close this one out for a Pig 9.
Yeah, and that kid trying to stabilize on that left side, does go 1-for-1. You have the strikes now going out from Kashiwa, now being able to poke away and take that zone right back from Rip Pig 9. Here comes that aggression as well. Bomb somehow doesn't kill that gal, hello? But managing to stay alive regardless of that. Here comes the cooler now, yet again from Momo. Being able to stabilize so much of that mid area and being able to control so much of it, taking that duel with Yoshell, but either side really being able to do much as we're locked in a stalemate here in that mid until that kid breaks through.
It's so strange. Pacdora is able to break in, but they're never able to hold properly. It just seems that Rip Pig 9 is a little bit too slippery, and they're able to get back in and just like break the wall that Pacdora creates. But, you know, right now it's back again into a standstill, and you know, the backline of Rip Pig 9, Yoshell and Zenith are both down, so it's just leaving that kid and Phoenix here in mid. Wisely shouldn't jump out and save some specials here. So I think this, for the first time in 3 minutes, by the way, is Pacdora's first chance to really set the lockout, and they've got the resources to do it. Like, you know, Blade Breaker online, Tri-Strikes online, Cooler just dropped, so they're prepared for anything that Rip Pig 9 throws at them.
Kasiwa does have those strikes available to use as well. We saw them use it to great lengths and advantage last time, using it pretty early here just to buy a little bit more time. One pick onto Phoenix, that front line on Rip Pig will hurt a little bit, so just waiting for Phoenix to get back to try to initialize some things. 1-for-1 yet again. Kasiwa going down. That kid going in with this Zipcaster, managing to find one onto Momo. Finding the potential. No, not being able to get that seconds onto that jump. Not quite there as that push starts falling apart for Rip Pig 9, and Pacdora pulls even further away. 2 players down on Rip Pig 9. Now in desperation time. There's no specials on the board for either side. Now just left to hold grit and grind as that kid tries to desperately jump on that right side zone, but it's not going to be enough as Pacdora come from behind victory, take game 1.
I mean, could it have been closer? Like, I honestly think if that Zipcaster kill went through onto the jump and Momo on the pencil didn't dome that kid, it might have been their game. It was so close down to the wire, but it is Pacdora that walks away with this first one, putting them up in the set.
Yeah, and it's basically in the job description, of course, of a backline to just simply live and give the jumps in, but Momo did an exceptional job at, like we saw earlier and like you mentioned, being able to make sure that that kid wasn't able to continue to snowball off of those Zipcaster Octobrushes, but also being able to just simply stay alive and just constantly getting out to those coolers, just doing all the little stuff that you expect from a pencil, but doing it to pure perfection.
Right, I mean, Momo is probably one of, if not the singular best sniper rider play in the world, and it absolutely showed. Like, whenever that kid would zip over, just no fear, just, you know, put one between the eyebrows and pack it up and go home. So, you know, that's going to be a difficult special to use when you've got a charger that's so competent on the side of Pacdora.
Yeah, but with that win, they get those 2 strikes, and the map pick goes into the favor of Rip Pig 9. Undertow Spillway, a lot of familiar map modes that we do expect from the Western scene, but yet again, another double zone map in play.
And I think that's a good thing. because remember how difficult of a time Pacdora had capping the zone and holding the zone in that first game? Like, they might have won the thing overall, but it was very contested for the opening of it, and I don't go as far as saying that their opening wasn't so strong, and that RIPPIG 9 was able to maintain control and lock them out, or at least not get locked out. Like, whenever they had control in Pacdora, they just couldn't maintain it. And this is a map that's extremely similar in that regard. Like, holding control of an Undertow zone is terrible, because they're so tiny, you just paint right over it, and it goes whichever way.
Ooh. Yeah, and you have, though, that early aggression that we saw from RIPPIG 9 now being turned on its head, with Pacdora being the ones being able to get that first blood. Zenith moving with that hammer on that left side, trying to see if they can find much, but still both sides heavily contesting each other's zone. That Phoenix kill barely being able to be made before the jump out being had, but Pacdora is starting to lose those numbers a little bit, will be forced back, and yet again, very similar to what we saw in that game 1, RIPPIG with first real strong control of that zone, unless these strikes can find much, but they don't seem to be doing too much, at least in the taking over the full zone department.
Seems they're starting to stagger a little bit, so, you know, this is a good play. It makes sense to start backing up a little and get that regroup. Like Dakin's just jumped in, but Dakin goes down once again. I think this is like the second or third death in a row, so we have to slow down a little bit if we want to get some footing. But Momo gets a pick and wins out the 1v1 against Yoshell. So right now it's so staggered, with Zenith on the hammer now leading the charge inwards, but they and Dakin both go down, so we've just lost so many specials, and points tick down for Pacdora now, just waiting for RIPPIG 9 to play into their hands.
Yeah, especially with the specials that you have ready for Pacdora, of course. Again, Kashiwa has those strikes available, waiting and daring RIPPIG 9 to make their moves, but already you lose Phoenix. You already lose that kid. Your aggressors are down, and you don't have numbers. Those strikes go out relatively early when they probably could have been saved, but still, it is a luxury when you're put in this position, but may come back to bite Pacdora if RIPPIG 9 are able to at least get their home zone. You do have Momo just waiting in the wings for any potential move. That kid makes their move, trying to see if they can contest the zone, but it just barely caps the zone.
They had maybe like 3 frames where they'd paint on the square, and somehow it comes through, flying 71 penalty points over to Pacdora, so they're still alive in this game. RIPPIG 9's still got a few plays left in them, and they're starting to regroup now, with Daki getting a pick, and now trying to push Momo out of the snipe area. With the help of Phoenix, they do manage to do so, and now they've got the opportunity to push into mid here, as they clean up one more fight on the right side.
Root Slider, or not Root Slider, but caster available again for that kid, trying to be very, very cautious about it, just because of how many times they've been immediately domed by Momo in that, just using it as a movement and pressuring tool. Zenith doing the same thing with that hammer, but they get cut down there in the sight lines of Momo, just causing everybody on the side of RIPPIG 9 to just duck for cover. You have the strikes going out. You lay it again from Kashiwa to potentially swing things, but RIPPIG 9 getting the trades right back and holding firm, at least holding numbers for the time being, despite the overwhelming amount of specials that were thrown at them.
Right, and now as we continue through this game, like hold on, the 2 people just exploded, so I think Phoenix just got 2. But look at that kid up on the snipe area, pressuring her away. I think that was Momo that just jumped out with the cooler. So great jump out from them. Now they're able to save that resource for their own retake. As after so long, RIPPIG 9 is now through their penalty points as they start scoring some real points in the board, and they can maybe extend this too because they've got that hammer ready and they're close to a killer whale too. So if they're able to get a few picks, then they're able to extend this lead.
Ellie, and the way that Yoshell has been also holding on the other side, the other pen within this match as well, has brought a lot of stability for what RIPPIG 9 is trying to build in this comeback. A long way to go still. A minute and 39 penalty points with 34 of the regular points having to go into their favor. Not ideal when going into this, but still, we've seen crazier things happen. Pacdora are on the back foot now. They're losing players left, right, and center. Kashiwa going down there. Those strikes will be delayed even further now. Points continuing to tick down. That kid with a zip caster available. Phoenix does go down, though, so there is a window of opportunity to move in, especially with now both your aggressors down on the side of RIPPIG 9. Pacdora available to potentially make things happen. You have this awkward fighting happening on the right side. Kashiwa trying to form in the flank. Phoenix wins that fight, though, but the strikes now will be delayed slightly as Phoenix just tries desperately to stay alive, but they are mowed down in the waning moments of things. They need any specials, Rip Pig 9 that is, to barely contest at least one of these zones, but waiting for them is the overwhelming strength of Pacdora with those 2 specials available. Not the strongest specials, but enough to cause havoc. Here comes the Zipcaster from that kid to maybe cause some havoc. Phoenix goes down pretty early though, so that's one of your aggressors down. Both of your aggressors down, 3 players down, and the 4 falls as well. Pacdora is able to hold onto that zone and take game 2, effectively winning the set, but it is play all 3, so Rip Pig 9 with the opportunity to take one back.
It looks so hopeful there in that final play between Zenith and Momo, where she like barely managed to trade it out, but then it just turned out that Kasiwa was on the back line, and so in the end, all those trades just amounted to Kasiwa getting to 1v1 Yoshell, and you know Yoshell might be a goat in the sticks, but they still end up losing that fight. I mean, the slosher beats the pencil most times, and that happened to be the case there. So it was just so close. It just happened to like slip out of their hands, and you know, they got one last opportunity to win this 3rd match of the set to, you know, get a little bit more power for their seeding into day 2 here. So, unfortunate loss, and in both games, it was so close, but close isn't enough, so they're going to end up losing that set. Now, this is being their final round for redemption.
Yeah, and Ellie, something that really just the points that I feel like got amplified even more in that match was just how effectively Pacdora was able to suppress the 2 aggressive players that Rip Pig 9 are trying to bring out, being Dat Kid and Phoenix. And these are the best of the best. And yet they seem like they're getting snuffed by what Pacdora is having, just because of the range that they bring. With Rami on those dually squelchers, with Momo on that pen, there's not a lot of space to hide from these longer range weapons. So Rip Pig 9 is forced into these different situations, these different angles, and they needed to take more peculiar angles to really catch them off guard, but Pacdora have been holding firm thus far.
Hey, you see what I see? I like what I see. I see a Zinc mini Splatling with a big bubbler. Now, like, that thing is, like, strange when you find, like, roller or, like, back, because it just feels like you have to abandon ship. But they got none of that. Like, they have a strike, and that thing was just nerfed. That bucket, and now it's 220p. Momo, what the hell?
That bubble can't save you if Momo is just there off rip, finding 2, cooler being placed as well. Pen's supposed to be a support weapon, and we're seeing it just move up here in style, but just as quickly as Pacdora was able to get that zone, Rip Pig come roaring back, taking that one very personally. Dat Kid and Phoenix jumping on Momo, but Momo able to jump out in quick succession. Already so much has happened in 40 seconds here that this one is just meant to bloom fireworks.
Now, you see Daka in the Zipcaster gets one, almost gets 2. Hold on, they're so low. Not able to close out the kill just yet, and with the help of Phoenix, ends up getting 3. Hold on, wait, this is Pacdora 3 down in their own base. It's like a whole new version of Rip Pig 9, pushing them all the way back now and starting their own lockout. Now, they're close to a killer whale, and they almost have the big bubbler too, so they can extend this lockout like crazy. Like, the only resource that Pacdora's got soon is those ink strikes.
Yeah, that chemical reaction that Dat Kid and Phoenix just had there has been something that has been desperately missing from Rip Pig 9, just because of how well Pacdora has been able to hold it down. Those strikes coming out from Pacdora, not able to cap the zone and quickly back into the purple. So an opportunity for Rip Pig 9 to tear this one back in the early moments of things. Only a minute and 30 has passed. Dat Kid and Yoshell being the last 2 players in the zone. That paint needs to get there to at least get some time here. Dat Kid now running at that elbow to stall out, and Rip Pig 9 a very quick rebuttal in a minute and 30 seconds of game time will at least get a game off of Pacdora in a very impressive fashion, in a way that I personally wasn't expecting at all, just because of how knit tight and close those other first 2 matches were.
This is a REWOUND series. I knew that was 2-1. I didn't know that they were going to beat them that bad in the 3rd game. Like, those first 2 were, like, actual nail-biters. But they took that personally, just, like, straight, like, close that out so fast. Like, how often do you see a knockout in the Splat World Series? Like, this is zones, mind you.
Yeah, and you were mentioning and talking about the bubble being the potential key factor, which it was. It played a variable in the success of Rip Pig 9 even further, but again, we really saw a much more awakened version of Phoenix and Dat Kid that were able to cause that snowball. It started off by that Zipcaster from Dat Kid, managing to find one and chipping a lot of the Pacdora players, and then Phoenix is going right in, doing Phoenix things, weaving and waving, and managing to cause that lockout. And then afterwards, was pretty much coasting. It looked like coasting from Rip Pig 9, who were able to hold that zone despite the amount of specials being thrown at it. Those strikes from Cassiwell were basically deleted despite all of them being basically pinpoint onto the zone.
And that's the thing of Zenith, by the way, because like her mini Splatling like craps out a bajillion paint, and so those strikes are nothing. If you don't move up physically through those strikes, you get maybe like 0.2 seconds of paint control. And in this case, against the Zinc mini Splatling, along with the pencil, by the way, which has been like, it's gotten hella paint nerfs, but it still does the job just fine. The combination of those two players just maintaining the teams while two aggros go up and kill everyone, like that was picture perfect, Rocket.
Yeah, picture perfect is a perfect descriptor of it, as that will be it for at least this episode of Splat World Series 26 Rewound. That is the end of that set. So for more, be sure to check out IPL here. We have a full series of other matches, but for now, that is the end of the book for Pacdora versus Rip Pig 9.